Welcome to the Grumpy Guy BJJ Podcast with your hosts James Wilson and Rob Eickhoff. We are here making friends and solving problems one podcast at a time.
All right, so welcome to the Grumpy Guy BJJ Podcast, episode 11. My math is right. I'm your co-host, James Wilson, here with Rob Eickhoff. How's it going, Rob?
Yo, what's up, James?
Not much, man. We're just sitting here with my dog leaning on us. He's very loving this morning. I don't know what his deal is.
Trusty Akka wants to be part of the podcast.
I know. He's very, he's like, you get 0% of the pets that you don't beg for. That's his whole theory in life. He is definitely a pet beggar, but he's a great dog. But yeah, man, no, just wrapping up the week. It's Friday. I think like a lot of people in the jiu-jitsu world, we're still trying to digest the John Danaher interview on the Joe Rogan Experience. I know we were talking quite a bit before we even started the podcast about it, but yeah, man, that was a great interview. I know we both took a lot from it. I kind of wanted to get some of your thoughts on it, but yeah, what was your?
Yeah, it was a great interview. Like you and I talked about before, man, we both agreed. We think that's the first time Danaher has actually like put out like some of their system.
Yeah,
you know, he's got these crazy long Instagram/Facebook posts where he talks about different shit.
Yeah,
but yeah, for him to like break down the match between Gordon Ryan and Cyborg and stuff, that was priceless, dude.
That was priceless.
Yeah, like I was listening to it driving at work, and I was halfway through that breakdown, and I immediately like, called you. I couldn't get a hold of you, but I was going to tell you, like, dude, you've got to listen to this.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't wait till I got home that next night, you know, just to be able to watch it on YouTube instead of just listen to it. Man.
Yeah.
He dropped so many good little nuggets.
Yeah, I told you, man, I got 2 pages of notes just from his breakdown of the Gordon Ryan Cyborg match, which was great, man. It was so many little things. But yeah, that's the thing. Once I've been looking, like most people, you find somebody's really successful, and you start trying to figure out, like, okay, what are they doing? And you're looking around, and the Death Squad's notoriously secretive about what they do. Like, you really can't find. There's no instructionals. There's no real in-depth articles or anything like that explaining, especially from like Danaher himself. Like, what you'll get sometimes is people who've talked to him, or had like a private or something with them, and they'll write something. But to have him start going into their mindset and the his whole idea of how jiu-jitsu, the system of jiu-jitsu, and how most of us didn't even realize, like, this is the system that you have been taught. Take someone down past their dangerous legs, establish dominant position, and start to go for a submission. And where do leg locks fit into that, and where once you fit leg locks in, how it changes the whole game. And it was awesome. I think he's thought about this and can vocalize what a lot of people, I think, are starting to realize instinctively. I mean, the leg lock game is getting more and more popular because, man, if you use it, you realize, like, holy shit, man, there's something here. Like, so yeah, it was cool.
It works, and you
works.
don't have that old thought process of you have to give up position to go for a leg lock.
Yeah,
it's not. That's just kind of the old paradigm, and that's shifting. There were so many cool things to hear in that podcast, because I had heard before that Dean Lister had went and trained with Danaher way back in the day or something, and I always assumed that Dean must have showed him some cool leg locks, and him being the wicked genius that he is, just kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
But man, his story, that he never even really trained with Dean. Dean was just there training with Matt Serra, and all that Dean said to him was, "Why are you ignoring 50% of the body?"
Yeah,
and that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's so because that's so true. Is why aren't you attacking the legs?
Yeah. Well, that was that was Musashi's thing again. I know I keep going back to him, but like the whole thing clicked for me, and I refer to like the lower body as the second sword. And that was Musashi's thing. Like, why are you going to ignore one whole sword that you have? Like, again, the samurai were famous for their long katana, but they also had a short sword. And they would usually not use it. They would only fight with a katana. And Musashi's like, why the fuck would you ignore 50% of the weapons on your body? Like, if you're going to die, like, the worst thing that can happen for a warrior is to die not having engaged and tried to use all of the weapons at his disposal. And the only reason you're doing it is because of tradition. Like, that was it. Like, that's what allowed Musashi to overcome, you know, the thought process and come up with his own style. Was he was a Ronin. He did not have, you know, the classic training and the master and all that. So he was outside the system. And so he was able to develop his own, you know, systems that beat the current system. But that's it, man. It takes some sort of mad genius. But, you know, we joke around and we say it with all due respect, but, you know, you know, I think genius and madness are neighbors, and sometimes they borrow each other's sugar.
Yeah, they are very close to each other.
Yeah, you could tell, like, Danaher's, he's so wicked smart that, you know, there's some things that are like, well, dude's a little... He's almost too out there in some ways. And again, like, you know, that was, Musashi was notorious for that too, man. It was like, you know, he was so damn good and so damn smart, but he was well known for, like, being a little, in social settings, you know, normal people not quite knowing how to take them. And it's like, you can see that with Danaher. Here's this, you know, crazy Kiwi dude wearing rash guards everywhere and just kind of looking at you. And you can tell he's, like, looking at your soul somehow. And it's like, what is this guy judging me on? You know? And so, yeah, but it was...
that being said, I want everybody to know that James is wearing a rash guard.
I am, yes. I forgot to... Yes, I am in honor of Mr. Danaher.
Even though this is an audio podcast, James is in spirit wearing a freaking rash guard as we're sitting here in his house.
I was getting dressed this morning. I figured I may as well for this podcast. And it's a Musashi rash guard, just to bring it all full circle for me. So, yeah, that was great, man. Well, I guess what were a couple, like, insights or kind of takeaways if you just kind of...
There was a lot. The one that's really top of mind right now is how he was talking about the hierarchy of positions and where the point system came from.
Yeah.
And I've always explained it to new students a little bit different, but it's the same concept. So let's say, we'll just start like you're inside somebody's closed guard. You pass the guard, you get 3 points because you are now in a position to where you can inflict the most damage and you are in least amount of danger. And that's the hierarchy of positions. Each position is awarded points based on how much danger can you put your opponent in and how much danger are you in. It really is what it is. And so, you know, you get to knee on belly. That's another two. You can cause a lot of damage there, and there's not a lot your opponent can do to you. Then you go to the mount. Again, very little your opponent can do to you and a lot you can do to him. Yep. And then ultimately the back mount. There's really not shit your opponent can do to you at that point. You're on the back. And that all comes from a striking, like a straight up fight.
We talked about that, like
straight up
from the origins
fight.
of like Valle Tudo.
Yeah, like these are positions combat. To where, like, if I was able to throw elbows, if I got back mount and I can throw elbows to the back of your head, dude, your day's over.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's it. And there's nothing you're going to do to me. You're going to flop around like a fish until I cave in the back of your head. Then it's game over. And so that's where the whole point system and then the tournament came from is.
Reinforce that view of jiu-jitsu like that.
So that's really important for new people to understand. Like, if you're not understanding the positions in the point system, that's where, and it's a really valuable system.
Yeah,
you know, if used properly. Yeah. But as with any sport, people, you know, you're in it to win. And so you find ways to game the system, game the rules. So that's where shit gets a little bit watered. Shit gets a little bit watered down. Yeah. But that just happens. I mean, anytime we start doing things for sport, things get a little bit watered down. People want to win, but you go back to the roots of it. Like that was pretty cool that he brought that up because I think that's. I would always think that's kind of common knowledge, but it's probably not.
It's not. No, people haven't really sat down like John was saying like. People do things on an unconscious level, and a good coach's job is to bring that to a conscious level so that you can then, you know, like Bruce Lee would say, like, take what's useful and, you know, leave the rest behind. And, like, there's a lot that's useful from the traditional system of jiu-jitsu, but if you're not aware of it, you can't ask the question, well, where do leg locks fall in? Now, is there something useful that we can take from this and maybe add something to it and make it even more useful? And, like, you know, we talked about before, it's, if we're striking, it's a different game. But if I can't strike you to open up your guard, you know, and when I'm trying to pass your guard, well, then you can't strike me when I fall back to take your foot. Because that's one of those things that people will criticize footlocks is like, you know, well, you open yourself up to strikes and kicks and stuff if you were in a fight. Well, it's like, well, again, you have to...
We're in that rule set.
Yeah, if we're playing a rule set where I don't get to slap you and you don't get to slap me, and you get to take my gi and wrap it around me all crazy like, or something like that, then I guess it's not really as big a deal in the no-gi, but it is. It's understanding like kind of what the system is for the problem at hand, and is there a better way to maybe look at it and do it? So I think that's what John's really doing to try to help progress the game. But yeah, that's a big one, man. But what's funny is like that rule set actually, it penalizes footlocks, because if I'm going to pass someone's guard and they're really good, and this is one of the other things that I took from it, one of his heuristics, his rules of thumb was the person with the inside foot position will always dominate the Ashi garami. And so guess what happens when you're trying to pass someone's guard? The person on bottom, the best place for them to have you is between their legs. They want you between both legs, because if you're not, you're either in half guard or getting around them, and so you're wanting to keep them between the legs. Well, that's that inside foot position that opens up the Ashi garami. So if you're having trouble passing someone's guard, and so, well, that's because they're keeping you between their legs. Well, guess what's open then? Well, the Ashi garami. Okay, so now I go for that and I sit back. Not only do I not get points for putting them into what is a very controlling position for someone who knows how to use it, if they just follow me up and come up on their knees, a lot of times they'll get a sweep point or something like that.
Or like IBJJF, they might get an advantage.
They might get an advantage, or yeah.
And even if they just kind of half-ass look like they're attempting to sweep you, and you just sit back and get the Ashi garami, there's a really good chance that they're going to at least get advantage points.
Yep. Yeah, at the very least. So you're actually penalized. You are penalized by IBJJF
that
rules.
Needs to change. That's frustrating.
So yeah, that is, and it's one of the things that I've struggled with. I've for me it was a really big like relief, man. I just felt like a fucking load was taken off my mind, because I felt like I've really been struggling. It's funny, we'd had a talk where I was like, man, I feel like I've been doing jiu-jitsu all wrong a couple weeks ago. And a lot of it was struggling with trying to weigh what I knew to be effective through experience versus what the voices in my head that kept telling me this is how you do jiu-jitsu. And so like a perfect example was I'd had a round with a really good blue belt, Connor. I've told him this, I'm not calling him out this, and Connor's fucking really good, man. He's getting much better, and he has got a really good guard, man. His legs are tough to deal with, and you think you're around, and he's one of those dudes who can just all of a sudden it's like, where the fuck did that foot come from, man? And so, but him doing that, he opens himself up to foot locks. So like I'd had a round with him where I got him in 2 foot locks, but I ended the round and I went home and I was pissed off at myself because I couldn't pass his guard. And I was like, a good jiu-jitsu player should be able to pass his guard and get him in mount and smash him and blah, blah, blah. And I realized, like, man, that's just me trying to live up to some unknown thing. I didn't know, why am I thinking this way? And it's like, well, this is the system that you've been taught. And so now you're struggling with, how does your experience fit into this system? Well, it doesn't. And so now that you're aware of the system, it's easier for you to understand how your experience fits into it. So, anyways, it was...
Yeah. That in itself is a double-edged sword, though, too, because you can get so good at one area and you can neglect the others, and the ability to sweep, get on top, maintain control is super important.
Why?
And to dominate.
Why?
I
didn't see Gordon Ryan sweep Cyborg, and he dominated.
I'm not saying it is the most important. I'm saying it's very important.
I'm not saying it's not, but why do you need to? Because remember, like Danaher's whole thing was like, I create a system, and it almost kind of goes back to what Rolly was saying. It's a game of positions. If I can put my opponent into a position where I am positionally stronger and positionally more knowledgeable than him, that's my goal. And the whole goal is to continue to push them from one system. If this system starts to break down, well, then I push them into another system. And he was saying that's how someone like Gordon Ryan, who's got 7 or less years experience, can do what he did to Cyborg, who's been a black belt for longer than that, is because he was able to push him into an area, his world that he's so dominant in. So I'm just saying that I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing. Like if you find these, I'm saying like one is probably not good, but we were talking about this. Like it's having a leg lock system, having a Kimura system, having a back attack system. So you have a passing system. Like you develop these systems, and so when one system starts to fail, you pass off to the other system. But I think that's the thing, is like, you need to realize there's an overall system that you're creating these subsystems in, and if you mistake a subsystem for the system, that's where you get in trouble.
You just hit it right on the head. That's exactly what I was getting at.
Yeah,
is that if you, yes, there is for you to be, you just called it a whole entire system within, and subsystems within that. For you to be a complete jiu-jitsu player, you have to have an entire system.
Yeah.
And you can't just focus on one thing to a fault. And it will be a fault, because if you're only sharpening, because what if someone is just good enough at defense to where your attacks aren't quite better than their defenses.
Yeah.
And now they've come into your world and they proved to you, like, okay, fuck your world.
Yeah.
Now you're coming to mine, and you haven't spent time in those other worlds, those other subsystems.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Sure.
So going home and beating yourself up because you footlocked him instead of passing his guard, it's good for you. It is good for you, because I do the same thing, but you have to, periodization. There's the word again. You have to switch it up when you're training, and allow yourself, I'm gonna hit him. I'm gonna hit a footlock here. Okay, now I'm passing and dominating.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm taking his back. You need to work those other systems, and you need to put them together if you want to be a complete jiu-jitsu player. If you only just want to laser focus, I'm only going ankles and knees, that's all I want to fucking do, well, then have at it, man. You're probably going to be really good. But if you want to have that complete game, so when somebody, because you can have a really good system, but if you get somebody that has an elementary understanding of it, and they have a good mat IQ, they just spent years on the mat, whether it's wrestling or jiu-jitsu, they know enough basic defenses, they can shut that shit down and scramble for the most part. It doesn't take much. You can be very intricate with all your attacks, your setups, blah, blah, blah. But if they're strong, semi-athletic, and they have an elementary understanding of it, good luck. You know what I mean? Like, you get somebody with big tree trunk fucking legs.
I don't know, man. Dude, Cyborg Cyborg's on, that dude knows his leg locks. Like, that is no dude who just got,
he doesn't know his leg locks nowhere near Ryan Gordon.
But I know, but I don't, but I think
I'm not saying always. I'm not saying always. You're arguing the point to where you think I'm saying, like, yes, this is the answer. I'm saying yes, he beat him, but he totally sucked him into his whole world, and maybe Cyborg, misjudged how good he was there, underestimated him, whatever. There's a number of things. I mean, flat out, Gordon Ryan's fucking good at it. But I'm saying from a complete jiu-jitsu standpoint, if you want to be a competitor and that's all you want to fucking do, and you just want to laser in on that, cool. But if you want to be good at everything, you need to practice fucking everything.
I feel like, in my mind, again, another big differentiation that he made that I thought was, again, one of these things you do unconsciously and he makes conscious, is there's a difference between the mechanism of control and the mechanism of breaking. And I believe that if your mechanism I may not finish someone all the time, but my mechanism of control is strong enough to where it takes a lot to get away. And you really got to be on your fucking game and make sure you don't make any mistakes along the way. And so, I don't know. Like, I feel like if that's happening to you, then your method of control is weak, and so you shouldn't even be worried about finishing shit yet. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's kind of one of the problems with the leg lock game is people. We were talking about it earlier with the knee bar, right? Like we were falling for it, where we were kind of doing a back step, going straight for the heel and going for the finish, as opposed to like setting up a true mechanism of control. Fuck the finish. I don't care about the finish at all. Control. And if I set up a really good mechanism of control, it should be damn near impossible for them to get away from me until I make the move to go for the break. And so, I don't know. I feel like that again, that's a double-edged sword where people can be like, oh, this keeps happening to me, so I need to develop something else. Like, well, maybe you just need to work on your method of control a little bit better. But Yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's definitely that's the funny thing. That's why we're good for each other, because we'll both argue, knowing that we both understand the opposite of it too. Like, we know everything's a double-edged sword, two sides of the same coin. So, we just like to argue. I'll take one side of the coin, and you're like, oh yeah, well, there's this other side. So,
I think part of my reason for arguing the other side of it, is the old school mindset too. Is my jiu-jitsu needs to protect me no matter what the rule set.
Yeah.
If shit goes wrong on the outside or, whatever, your jiu-jitsu, you should have a complete jiu-jitsu game.
Yes.
And so
we've talked about this.
You should have a complete jiu-jitsu game. But like you say, you got to periodize things, man. If you're training for a competition and this is your A game, fuck yeah, man, go for it. But if you always make that your A game, the rest of your jiu-jitsu is just going to suck. You know what I mean? Like, it just is. And so part of the old school mentality comes in, is you have to be able to switch. Knowing when to change the fight is something I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Is, okay, it's time for me to abort this mission and go to the next one.
Yeah.
Like he's maybe a step ahead of me, or I'm having to put a little too much effort here, or I'm stalling out. I'm not progressing. No one's getting better at this point. Let's move the match. Let's go on. Yeah. So maybe it's more kind of old school mentality with it. I don't know, but
well, that's the thing, man. It's like you were brought up in the with that system.
Some of that comes to I was brought up, I've been doing this shit 14, 15 years or whatever. And some of that comes to, I've had 6 amateur MMA fights. And so I think that's important too, that does your jiu-jitsu work in that? When someone's trying to knee your face off, does it work there?
Yeah.
And so, you gotta really have a complete system, I think, in my eyes. I really think.
I agree. I think too,
because the stalling positions are like, me. I hate the 50-50. I think that is the stupidest fucking position. If you want to put me there and stall, dude, I'm getting out of there, man.
Yeah, I'm something stupid.
I'm going to kick somebody in your chest with my other leg to get the fuck out. Like, I'm going to scramble. I'm getting out of there. Because you're in danger. I don't like, and it's such as just a bullshit stalling position. Like, tip me over, get an advantage. You get up, or tip me. Motherfuckers, what is this?
Yeah.
I like leg locks. I go for them all the time. Leg locks, foot locks. Dude, I love them. The fucking 50-50. Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
Fucking this shit drives me nuts.
No, man. Yeah. Well, and again, like
I'll go on you.
Went over some of that, man, and it's like, well, if you took, you throw heel hooks in, and all of a sudden everything's 50-50's gone. Like
it changes drastically.
Yeah. So it's setting within a rule set.
Yeah, again, that's just people gaming the system. So you understand where it came from. But that's strictly, dude. Really, the 50-50. If it wasn't for the IBJJF rule set, that position probably never would have came about.
No, it wouldn't.
You know what I mean?
It would be something you might hit, and then you get the fuck out of it.
It'd be because being that you can't do heel hooks at any level, you get advantage points. If it wasn't for that, there's no point. There's no reason to be in that position.
No, it's just
their rule set created that goddamn position.
Yeah, yeah, man. Well, I think for me, I like because even within the whole system. So even if it's like the leg locks, to me are indicative of the Krav Maga mindset, which is you're never defending. You're always attacking. Like, I did this one weekend seminar doing Krav Maga, and if people don't know, that's the Israeli martial art. I mean, it's probably one of the most brutal, straightforward, most effective striking, style arts out there. They would always. It was funny. These people would ask sometimes, like, "What's the block for this?" And the instructor, like this old snarled, Israeli veteran, he would be like, there are no blocks in Krav Maga, only counter strikes. And they were serious. It was a mentality that they installed. Like, I am not trying to block this punch. I'm trying to break your wrist. And so, like, that mentality, I think is it's an important one, man. And I think sometimes with jiu-jitsu, you get a defensive versus offensive mindset. And that's where, like, the leg locks, like what Danaher was saying, is like, leg locks allow me to turn what is traditionally a disadvantageous position where I would have to be on the defensive and do something defensively to put my opponent in a position to then launch an offensive attack. And I can use leg locks to turn almost any situation into a potential attack. I mean, if someone's on your back, I mean, you can catch them in a knee bar. If you're on the bottom, you've got the leg locks there. And so I thought that was really interesting how he was, said, like, look, this allows me to turn what is traditionally a bad position into a chance to attack. And I thought, like, again, like he may make this connection, or maybe one of those things like he's not. That for me, I was like, yeah, that's it. And I try to think about my jiu-jitsu that way. Is like I never want to just be defensive. Like my rigor mortis guard is a fucking last ditch effort where I just have nothing else going. But anything else, it's like, man, if I can get a 2-on-1 on a wrist from the bottom or the back and just start straightening it out and like using it to manipulate, and it's like I'm not being defensive. I'm trying to be offensive with whatever I can get. And it's a different mindset, and it's not easy.
It is a different mindset. And I think another way to word that, the way I explain to people a lot when I'm teaching, is you want to lead the dance. Wherever that dance is, it's better for you to be leading the dance. Yeah. Even if you're not quite sure where you're going, it's better to have your opponent think you know where you're going,
right,
and them trying to react to you.
Yeah.
Just be active as opposed to being reactive.
Yeah.
Taking charge of the situation.
Well,
and so there's a point in time where you do have to defend.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I agree. You shouldn't live your life in that defense stage,
right?
Because
it's a chance to launch an attack, and if you don't think about that and you don't look for it, then you'll never see it. Like if you think that like getting mounted is a fully defensive position, and you don't realize, like, man, there are numerous opportunities for me to start working and getting some sort of Ashi garami and turn this into a leg lock on this guy. It'll never happen. You'll never see it. And so, I don't know, man. It's definitely a fine line.
And it's a funny mindset thing you get into because, you do want to be attacking, you want to be leading the dance, but there's times where defense needs to be number one. Like someone's getting to your back, boom, you protect that neck. But once you have that, like your most dangerous thing protected,
yes,
then you start trying to lead the dance.
You should be looking for
you change the gears.
Yeah.
But when people are first starting out, like if someone is a white belt listening to this, dude, you're gonna spend your first year being a punching bag.
We don't know what the fuck's going on anyways.
You don't know really where to attack and how to attack without giving up positions, and you're gonna end up getting your ass whooped a lot. So you spend a lot of time defending.
Well, the whole idea of defense, I think, is just to slow the action down enough for you to be able to start seeing your opportunities to turn the situation around. And traditionally, it's like, okay, sweeps and things like that. But I felt like, because again, I've argued this stuff a lot. Like people will, I don't fight sweeps real hard. I just don't. I'm fucking too old. I don't want to get into this fucking like bulldog.
As soon as you start muscling shit, that's when people get hurt.
Yeah.
Perfect example, your hand.
Yeah.
Like we were both fucking muscling something.
And again, I know Kevin listens to this all the time, and he gets on to me all the time for like, why are you giving that up? Why are you fighting? And like in my mind, like getting swept isn't the end of the world if in the transition I'm able to establish a grip or a position that allows me to continue to be offensive, especially with leg attacks. And so like I just don't feel the need to have to like fight with everything that I have to, and so sometimes that'll come back and bite me. It can be a bad habit for sure, because sometimes I should fight more, but I don't know. Like I said, it opens it up, man. I think that's the cool thing is now the leg attacks open up so much, because not only do you have both halves of the body, not only are you now, like he was saying, jiu-jitsu is now a bi-directional sport. It's not a unidirectional sport. It's not always advancing from the feet to the head.
Yeah, that was huge that he said that.
Yeah.
You go backwards, but you're not going backwards.
Right.
You're just changing the direction.
But that's how we always looked at it.
Yeah, instead of, because you see that, and I get myself into danger doing that, thinking I always have to go forward.
Yeah.
Or just, bowling forward. If I'm not going forward, I'm fucking losing it.
Yeah.
That's not the case. And even in the lingo I'm using, I'm saying forwards or backwards. It's not backwards. It's not backwards. It's just
it's which sword you're
going. Yeah, I'm going from the feet to the head, or I'm going from the head to the feet.
Yeah,
your legs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not backwards.
It's not backwards.
That's a big paradigm shift. Just thinking about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and the more comfortable I get with leg locks, I see myself looking for them all the time. Even when I get up to like some sort of side control, knee on belly or something, like I'm looking at the legs and I'm looking at the holes. And what's like, I might even have a Kimura grip, like about to take somebody's back or something, but I'm looking like, man, what can I do with them legs right now?
There?
yeah, like, okay, his legs are like this. If I was to put my leg here, I could pretty much get right to the honey hole knee bar / take the other leg. Like, you think about it, and it's not backwards. You're just like, man, he is so focused on me not strangling him or taking his arm right now. Yeah, he's not thinking about these two limbs at all. And I could be three moves into that setup before he even really realizes that I was thinking about
what's going on with it. Yeah, it does, man, because people get so sold out on defending that body. Man, it is hard, man. You talk about like legs being dangerous, like to me, like the arms and the upper body, like that's just as hard, man. You got both those arms, you got the whole mass of the upper body. Like if I can get my whole body on one of your legs, to me that is a much better fight than me on your upper body. Like you have way more. I don't know. It's a way more even fight. I know it's still not an even fight, but
that was
way
one of
more
the
of
old
an even
school
fight.
arguments too of why you shouldn't go for leg locks, because legs are so much stronger and people can muscle out of them. That was another one of the old school.
But man, I've had people muscle out of way more arm bars and Kimuras than have ever just muscled out of a good Ashi garami. I mean, once you know how to control it, they're not muscling out of that. They're gonna have to do something stupid.
They have to play the angles to get out. You can't. It's hard to muscle.
Yeah, unless you know how to defend it, you're gonna end up doing something stupid.
You gotta create the proper angles to get out. Not you ain't just beasting out of it.
No, man. So cool, dude.
We could have just done a whole podcast on that.
I know, we could have, man. Well, it kind of segues in. We've got actually our Ashi Garami workshop coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Saturday the 20th.
We're doing that at 10 a.m.?
10 a.m., yep. And then we got our Grumpy Guy Fit class after that,
at 11. Man, we got a big day of jiu-jitsu tomorrow.
I know, I love Saturdays.
Saturdays are
That's
good
why I was
day.
all mad last weekend when I showed up on Saturday morning and I was fucking hungover. Drinking too much beer, playing Zelda on Friday night like a dumbass, man. But, so, anyways. So, yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to that. And we'll just be, I think it was really good that we got a chance to listen to that interview and us talking about it.
It was so fitting that interview came out this week and we're doing that workshop this weekend. That was perfect timing.
It was perfect timing, so it'll be good. So we'll be filming that. So if you're not in the Grand Junction area and you don't get a chance to make it, we'll be making that available somehow down the road, like we did our side control basics workshop. So
and again, it's gonna be one of those things where we're talking more principles. We're not putting out We're not putting out a technique video for you.
Yeah,
it's more thoughts and principles behind and theory behind. This and that. So
that's something. Yeah, you and I both think along those same lines. Is
the moves come if you understand the theory,
principles,
behind it.
Yeah,
the moves come.
Yeah, it's like one of the things he talked about. Again, going back to the Danaher, he talked about a big part of our system is to use wedges around their body to restrict movement. And man, all of a sudden,
dude.
I'm like, it's one of those things I do unconsciously, but I never really put, just as simple as somebody's trying to get up and you kick a foot to get it under their hip so they can't turn all the way, and it's just a little bit of a wedge, man. You're just stacking these little wedges. Like last night I was showing the armbar to the basics class, and sure enough, man, I scoop my knee up behind their shoulder and I'm like, there's a wedge. Yeah. So they can't put their shoulder back down. So yeah, man, that freaking getting those wedges and stuff in there is that
was such a good analogy. And that goes right back to him saying being a good coach is bringing the things to the forefront of your mind that you're doing subconsciously.
Yes.
Making them a conscious thing.
Yep.
And that's him just saying that to guys like us that have been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time is, we're just creating wedges. Like, you're doing it, but you don't consciously know you're doing it. But as soon as he says that, dude, that's going to help you level up so much.
Yeah.
Because you're going to see that in little areas. Or if you don't, you're trying to control your opponent and you're having trouble, look at your lack of a wedge. I don't have a wedge here. I need a freaking wedge here.
Where's the wedge?
Where's the wedge? I need to get a wedge in this situation. Yep. He keeps I'm going for the Kimura, he keeps getting his goddamn back to the mat. Well, I don't have a wedge underneath his back.
Yeah.
Fucking stuff a wedge in there.
Yep.
He's not getting his, you know what I mean?
It's
God, there was so many cool things that he talked about.
Yeah.
Man.
And two, one of those, now as you're learning techniques, like you're saying, last night Kevin was showing the from top half guard pass where he pins your wrist and then stretches it out. And he was talking about you need to keep your weight away from the wrist. You don't want to get over the wrist and just pen it straight down. And as soon as he did it, you could feel this wedge. There was a difference between just a straight line pushing my wrist down versus him pushing the wrist away and his weight coming back over my body going the other direction. And there was just something about the way that he was able to set his shoulders that you could feel there was this angle being created that created a wedge that I couldn't turn back into. It wasn't a straight line that I had to beat. And so, yeah, now all of a sudden you start realizing, you start seeing wedges everywhere when you're learning new techniques. And you're like, okay, this is why they're doing that. You're putting the wedge. And that's what allows you to see those situations in other areas while you're rolling and then employ them. So, but that's what we're going to be trying. The principle stuff is that, I think we're both on the same page with showing people that being the key. To teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. You give him a fish, he just maybe gets one submission with it, So, yeah, man, I got. Have anything else? Oh, we did have a reader, a listener question.
Oh, the weed question.
The weed question from listener Amelia. She was wondering whether we thought that weed counted as a performance enhancement or a recovery supplement, because we were talking about in supplements, looking at them is using supplements more to try to help your recovery versus like enhance your performance. So and we'll probably talk about some of the stuff during the nutrition thing, but thinking more like essential fatty acids as opposed to like a pre-workout stimulant kind of thing. And so she was wanting our thoughts on that, and then also just if there was any moral thoughts on competing, using marijuana. And so anyways, I think
I would have to say that, first of all, unfortunately I cannot smoke the Chiba because I got to pee in a cup for work every once in a while, or if I crash something at work, so I can't. But for recovery, I think it's more of a recovery supplement.
Me too.
Just anti-inflammatory properties and
stress,
all the good stuff. Believe me, if I could smoke, and when I was off for surgery there a couple years ago, I was smoking like Cheech and Chong. Dude. It was fantastic. But man, it's great for recovery. And some people think it's a performance enhancer, and for them, maybe it is, like cognitively, but. To me, it's not enough of like a performance enhancer to where I don't feel like you're cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like even though some organizations are going to test you for it, and you could get popped for it, dude, you could get as high as a kite and go do a jiu-jitsu tournament, and I don't care. Like I train with somebody that's high all day long. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't bother me. Like now, if it's a high level competition and someone's on EPO or something, that's a different thing.
That's a different thing.
That's a totally different thing. That's a performance enhancer. They're going to have a significant advantage over me.
Steroids.
They're going to have a significant performance advantage over you. Man, smoking a joint before you go train or before you compete, you ain't gonna have that much of an advantage over somebody. It may be good for you. You can relax better. You're more in tune with shit or whatever the case may be. But to me, there's no moral objections to it. None whatsoever.
No, morally, I don't think that. I think it's ridiculous, man. I think from recovery, like you said, is important. I think performance enhancement, like you said, is definitely an individual thing. I know for me personally, like drilling high is good because I can just go deep into the lab on just different hand placements, or what if I move my weight here or there. Competing, I can't do it.
Too nervous?
Yeah. We talked about that. My last competition, you're like, oh, dude, you haven't smoked? I'm like, fuck no. I can't smoke on the day of a competition. Like, I'll go, because it's the same reason. Like, I can go deep inside my head.
And then maybe not good.
Right. On a day of competition, I go deep inside my head and take a shit. That ain't what I want to do. So, it definitely doesn't help me. I mean, for like a Saturday open mat or something like that, there's just something about like competition itself, like the heightened sense and the nerves and all that just for me personally, you would think like, oh, well, smoking a joint would like help you relax, and it's like no, I relax and then I start thinking about things.
Freaking out.
I start freaking out. So I need to like just stay nice and focus on a different level. But and I think as far as like the competing, for me the main thing is it banned? And are you going to get tested for it? And, are they going to make you pee in a cup if you win? And it's one of the easiest things to test for and easiest things for them to pop you for. And you would just hate to see like a bunch of hard work. Not that the only reason you were doing it was for your how you did in a competition, but you would just definitely hate to have a medal or something taken away at some high level competition because you got popped for weed.
But the only competition I know that tests for drugs is IBJJF.
Yeah.
And do they test for weed? I have no idea if they do.
I have no idea.
And I don't even care. I didn't bother looking it up. I thought I considered looking at like their anti-doping thing, but they're not, dude. I've never heard of them testing anybody except for like the champion. The real high level
medal,
the real high level dudes at the biggest tournaments of the year.
It costs a lot to test.
Yeah, they ain't. I mean, I can't say this with 100% certainty. There's probably people out there, but dude, they ain't testing your white belts and your blue belts and your fucking purple. They don't care about that.
I would say, if anything, I would say that's maybe where the moral thing comes in. Because if it is technically illegal, then you just kind of have to make a decision up to you. Then personally, unless it's the only chance for you to compete, maybe just find another place to compete or something like that. But I'd say that's like the only time a moral thing would come in is if it's technically illegal, but you're like, they're never going to test for it. So, but I mean, I'm like you said,
dude, even on that one, it's fucking weed, man. Even if the organization does test for it and it's illegal, there should be no moral obligations to that. You know what I mean? Get out of here. It is
ridiculous, man.
It's so ridiculous.
But I will say, some, there is some people that that's how they just got this fucking ethos that don't allow them to do it, and I can respect that, and I don't have anything against people that don't. You know what I mean? It's not a judgment call. I think that's the important thing. Is don't be judging people. You just worry about yourself, right? Like our fucking saying of the podcast: if everybody just worried about themselves, everybody would get better.
Yep.
But overall, I think that, with that said, you don't want to fucking smoke too much weed. It can definitely go too far. So
everything can go too far.
Everything can go too far. So using it for a purpose wisely, right? So, all right, cool. All right. And then, man, I got one last little thing I want to get your thought on.
Okay.
This is a weird one.
All right, that's good. I love the weird.
Yeah, so
I live in the weird most of the time.
I was reading Plutarch's Lives of Noble Grecians and Romans. And he was talking about the history of Theseus. And Theseus is the guy who, the Minotaurs is the most famous thing. And so there's a part where he talks about how he was making his way to Athens to claim his rightful place as the son of the king there. And he purposely was going out of his way to go and confront the bad guys on the way, right? And be the hero because he fashioned himself as Hercules. And anyways, one of the guys that he went up against was known as the Bender of Pines. I don't know exactly what the fuck it means, right? But he's like, it's after the manner with which he had destroyed others. And so Theseus went and beat this guy, and Plutarch made the statement and he did it without ever having learned how to do it, just to show that natural strength is above all art. I thought that really struck me because it's almost the exact opposite of what you hear in jiu-jitsu, which is like technique. And I don't know. I thought it was interesting, man.
It's an interesting mindset. And I've been in martial arts my whole life, and you always heard that strength doesn't matter, technique wins all the time. Yeah, horseshit. That's fucking horseshit, man. You take a big, strong athlete, and he doesn't know any jiu-jitsu. You take somebody that outweighs you by 30, 40 pounds, is a good athlete, strong,
take an NFL
strong as shit, dude. They don't have to have barely any fucking skill, and they are gonna give you all you can handle.
Yeah. You used to roll. You rolled a couple times with Michael Westbrook.
Yeah, back when I was first starting jiu-jitsu, man, I was like a white belt or a blue belt. Yeah, Michael Westbrook, he played for Redskins. I think he retired from Washington Redskins, University of Michigan. I think he went to University of Michigan. He was a pretty good receiver.
He wasn't like,
And I only got to train with him a couple times, and I think he was like a purple belt at the time. So not only this guy is a specimen, dude. I remember, just this huge pro athlete, and he was a purple belt. But dude, dude, he didn't have to know anything, and I wouldn't have been able to do anything to him anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so big, like he could wrap his hand around my thigh, let alone, you know what I mean? Like just
that's natural strength,
that's
man.
natural strength. That shit matters.
That shit
dude.
matters,
man.
man.
That shit matters. We see it a lot. We come across natural athletes. Yeah, that shit fucking matters, man. Yeah. I don't care who you are. Like, and now if you take somebody that has absolutely no combat skill, no combat training whatsoever, but they're pretty strong and athletic, you're probably going to get the best of them.
Yeah.
You can wear them out, they get tired, but you still got your hands full. You know?
Yeah.
But you give them just a little bit of skill.
Or if they're like a lot stronger than you,
good luck, man. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does.
It makes a big difference.
It does. Yeah.
This is a physical, hobby. Sport, martial art, very physical.
Strength matters, man.
It
does matter.
I don't care.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like I said, I was reading that statement, just kind of jumped out. I was like, so this motherfucker purposefully, just out of contempt for this dude's shit. So I'm not even know what this. I'm not even know what this bending of the pines thing is. I'm gonna show up and kick your ass just to show you that like my natural strength is above all art. And so, anyways, there you go. Strength
matters, man.
Straight from the fucking myths of prehistory to today. So strength matters.
Strength matters.
It does matter.
Take care of your meat vehicle.
Yeah. That's why the strength training. Again, you may not ever make up that gap with someone who's just like, would have been a demigod type person like Michael Westbrook, that guy, if he was born back in the day, would have been like a fucking, that's the kind of guy that they'd be like, this is a demigod, touched by the gods. He's so much stronger and bigger and just freakier than everyone else, that it's tough to deal with. But, so yeah, man, natural strength, you got to know how to fucking deal with it. I'll talk about this strength.
I'll talk about this a little bit too, so then we can get into our subject for the day. I get the, because I'm a smaller dude. Neither one of us is very big guys. Walking around 150, 160 pounds. Man, we get these big young dudes coming into the gym. They outweigh you 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds, and they're strong, athletic. Like, if I do train with them, once I see that I can trust them or something, because dude, if I don't trust somebody and they're that much bigger than me, then I ain't training with them. I'm too old for that shit. I just don't. Like you meatheads can go over there and kill each other,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it.
That's something Steve Maxwell talked about.
Keep myself safe. You got to be intelligent with your training partners.
Especially as you get older.
Yep, you get older, man, and you see some young kid that's big, 200 plus per pound kid, and he's moving around like crazy. Like, the likelihood of you getting hurt is just so significant, man. So I just won't train with them. But then if I see I can semi-trust them.
Yeah.
Dude, a lot of my focus when I get somebody that's a lot stronger than me is I just survive. Yeah. I don't care if I put any. My whole goal is survive and keep myself safe.
Yep.
That's it. Wear all my limbs. I'm not getting hurt.
Yep.
They're not submitting me. I'm safe. And dude, because I'll go. I train with a lot of guys. We have a lot of guys at our gym that are strong.
Yeah.
And you feel it, and they're beasting something. I just chill, dude. As long as I'm safe, and maybe they think they're winning, that's cool, man. They might have a better position on me, but you're not tapping me, and I'm not getting hurt, dude. And I am okay with that.
Yeah.
It's all about just I'm not hurt.
Yeah.
Because you get someone that's that much bigger and stronger than you, and you really start resisting things. That's when injuries are going to happen.
Yeah.
I've been doing this fucking long enough to know. That is exactly when limbs are going to get tweaked too far one way or the other. They're going to fall on you, or they're just going to blast through something. Like, someone's going to... As soon as you start putting a lot of muscle into shit, someone's going to get hurt. Injuries are going to happen, man. So that's... Dude, I think it's an important lesson for older, smaller guys. Like, dude, just... If you're going with someone bigger and they're going... Protect yourself.
Yeah.
Just protect yourself. And call that a win, man. Like, that's it. Just protect yourself. Like,
well, it's funny, but not to one last little thing, then we'll get on our point. But there was an article, because we've all heard this, right? Like, oh, you're really strong. And you're never quite sure how to take that. And there's actually an article on, I think it was like BJJ Eastern Europe or .com. And they were talking about how that's like the biggest backhanded compliment in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And I almost wonder now that I'm sitting here thinking, like, is it like leg locks? You know what I mean? Are people contemptuous of strength in the same way that they're contemptuous of leg locks? Like, the system of jiu-jitsu is that your technique should be able to overcome the strength. And then someone who is able to use strength to foil this system, it's like, oh, well, you're just really strong. Or someone who used leg locks to foil your system, oh, well, you just fell back for a leg lock. You know what I mean?
I can see it being in the same vein, to a certain extent. I can see that. You know, but we've said it before. Strength is a skill.
Strength is a skill.
Yeah. And if someone can get side control on you, and they can hold you there, that's a skill. Like, they're strong enough.
They're just, like, strong as hard to pass, man.
Yeah.
They're able to set really strong frames, and it's really hard to, like,
or they're good at passing.
Frames.
They're strong enough to where they can just smash your legs and just bull through it. Like, no matter what you throw at them, they're coming through it.
Yeah.
There's a skill in that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's not real pretty or super technical.
Right.
But they got strong somehow, you know, and they put time in training, and they're strong.
Yeah.
It's
kind of funny, man.
You got to respect it.
It all kind of, like, clicked. I think that's why it's a backhanded compliment. Same reason, like, leg locks have been.
I could see it kind of being a backhanded compliment a little bit.
Well, it is. Like, usually it is. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know.
I could see some people.
I get that a lot from people, like, oh, you're really strong. And I'm like, I don't know how to take that, you know, and it's usually someone who is
frustrated,
who's had a tougher time than usual, like getting past my rigor mortis guard.
you know what's so funny about that? I don't know what it is about you, but you have the ability to make people so frustrated when they get done training with you, dude. I don't know why. I do not know why, but I've seen it time and time again to where people get done training with you and they're throwing their fucking belt. They're throwing their gi top off, man. They're storming off the mat. But then they can go with somebody else and get their ass whooped. And you don't get any of the reaction. They train with you, and man, they fucking get so pissed. I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know. It cracks me up. It probably makes your life so much more difficult because then people come at you, dude.
God
like,
damn it, they do, man. Oh,
they just like, fuck this James.
I know, and then I find out that, like, oh, so-and-so came to you and was asking, like, you know, they've been working for, like, the last 3 weeks on specifically this James problem.
James specific problems.
And I'm like, fuck, man.
I've had more people come to me and ask me how to beat shit that you're doing to them than any other person I've trained with. I've had so many people come to me like, hey, James keeps fucking doing this to me. How do I get around that? I'm like, all right, man, come here. And then I'll show them, like, here, just do this. Just do this. All the time.
It's fucking funny.
It probably happens like once a month or once every other month. Somebody will be like, how do I get past this that James is doing to me? I'll just start chuckling.
Yeah, no, it's
funny.
It's good or it's bad. No, I can tell when someone's like, fuck this guy. I'm like, God damn it. I just wanted to roll light, bro. All right. So, with that said, nutrition. I guess there's really no fucking easy segue into...
No, we'll just jump right in. That was our subject for today.
Stuff.
An hour-long fucking pre-show. So, nutrition. I say we just dive right into it. And so first of all, I am fully aware that this may be the first episode where we may get some hate mail.
Good.
I'm kind of hoping because there's those three things: nutrition, religion, and politics.
And clipless pedals.
Clipless pedals. I'm not in the mountain bike.
I know you're not, but trust me, they're up there.
But those three things in my world are the three things that people get fired up about, and people get really fired up about nutrition. Man, I catch myself doing it. I've been better at it just because I notice it. But anyway, so. If I piss some people off today,
no, man, it's good.
Because my thought process behind this conversation is, I'm just going to talk about a handful of different diets, quote unquote, nutrition ways to eat, and coming from experience, things I've done and tried.
You've done a lot.
I've tried a lot of different shit, man.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Anybody listening to this, like a lot of what Rob's talking about is going to be from personal experience.
Yeah.
So this isn't like, theory like a lot of people talk about, like, oh, I read this and I read that like I do. So anyways.
Well, a lot of it comes from that reading and trying. Or this, dude, I've, for the past, 6 years of my life is when 6 years ago, I really got into podcasts. I kind of discovered them, so to speak. And I just started diving in, man. I've listened to hours and hours of interviews and talks and lectures and fucking, man, a lot of nutrition type stuff. So I know I'm not a scientist. I'm not in the lab testing the fucking rats, man.
Well, I mean, you probably know more. More
so,
real world stuff.
I know I'm not an expert, man. And everything I'm going to tell people today is firsthand experience or shit I've learned from these articles. And, but as with nutrition, you can always find articles that are going to support what I'm going to tell you today, and then you can go find 20 articles that are going to completely contradict it.
Yeah.
There's always, it's just the way it is, man. So
no, man, that's it. And I mean, from my perspective, I'm coming at this from, I haven't quite.
Have you fasted yet? Sorry.
You motherfucker.
Pussy.
Had to ring.
All right, but anyways, go ahead.
It's coming, man. It's coming. I still got till the end of the month to figure it out. January 31st, baby. So I've been, obviously I've done, I eat really well. I'm not quite as disciplined to go like keto and just, as hardcore into some of these things. But I've had the opportunity to work with literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people through my training facility that I had for over 6 years. And then again, just through training clients through the Bike James, site and online thing. So I've had the chance to really see across such a huge number of people, like what are some of the basic principles that work, where do people get lost and where are the big mistakes made, because that's the big thing is like there's not one answer for everyone. And so what you'll find is it's a lot like jiu-jitsu, where once you understand the principles, then you can apply those principles in different ways to suit your individual needs and tastes and lifestyle and stuff like that. But if you get just stuck on the methods and not understanding, what the principles are, like that's where you get confused. So for me, actually, like that was kind of the first thing I wrote down. Like I've got this, theory, whatever you want to call it. I've coined the term primary versus secondary food filters. And it's basically like you run decisions through a filter. Whether you're conscious or not, there's a filter that, okay, you see a piece of cake, should I eat this, yes or no? And again, whether you're conscious of it or not, there was a thought process, a filter that you ran that through that came out with an answer on the other side, either yes or no. And people get confused when they don't understand the difference between primary and secondary food filters, and they get confused with the secondary one. So like, for me, and again, I'll have you jump in, like the 3 primary food filters that I try to run my foods through and I try to get people to run their stuff through is 1, don't go hungry in an unplanned way. And I've really had to change my thoughts on this, because originally it was eat every 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 hours, right? It was like get those 5 to 6 small meals a day. But I have actually done, intermittent fasting and, did that for quite a while. And fasting as well. So the whole fasting thing has really changed my my thought process on whether you need to eat every 3 to 4 hours. And I now don't think that that's the case. In fact, I think that overdoing it can be bad. But I think the key is don't go hungry unplanned. Like if you're fasting, that should be a planned hunger. If you're doing intermittent fasting, that should be a planned hunger. You get yourself in trouble when you just get hungry and it wasn't part of your plan. And so if you need to eat more consistently, eat every 3 to 4 hours to keep yourself from getting hungry. But I find most people get themselves in trouble when they have an unplanned hunger. And then
that's when you're going to buy some bullshit.
Yes, yeah.
That's when you're going to falter most of the time.
Yes, yeah, that's a big one right there. Number 2 is eat really like... don't fill up on carbs, man. Like,
this is your other
primary food
You got 3 primary,
food filters.
I just want to make sure I was still listening properly.
Yeah. So the second one is eat proteins, healthy fats, and veggies at each meal. Like if you've got some lean protein, you've got some sort of healthy fat, and you've got some veggies on your plate, and you eat those. If you eat other stuff along with that, you're really going to minimize the damage. You just need to make, like lean protein, healthy fat, veggies. Does this meal have those in it? No. Okay, well, it's probably not a good one. Does it? Yes. Plus there's these other things. Well, fine. Maybe. And then the last thing is eat real food. Like don't eat shit you can't pronounce. Like look at the label. If you can't pronounce more than, a few words and you've got a decent vocabulary, then you probably shouldn't eat it. And so eat real food. So those are the 3 kind of primary food filters, man. Like don't go hungry in an unplanned way. Make sure you've got some lean protein, some healthy fats, and some veggies with each meal, and that you're eating real food and really trying to minimize the processed stuff. And if you're running, and people get in trouble, like secondary food filters are everything else. Ketogenic, paleo, organic, gluten-free, those are all the other secondary food filters. And people get in trouble when they look at a food and they're like, is this gluten-free? Like, that's their primary food filter. Gluten-free becomes their primary food filter. Well, that's how you end up eating ice cream and gluten-free cookies, and like those are not good choices, but they're gluten-free. But it's like you're running it through a secondary food filter. So if you never used any of those secondary food filters and all you did was run all of your food through those primary food filters, you'd be great. And now you start adding in those secondary ones,
and you can refine it.
Fine-tune and refine it. So I guess if anything, like, that's kind of the biggest mistake that I see people make, is getting caught up in those secondary food filters before they really, like, they don't even know what a fucking protein is. You know what I mean? They're like, lean protein, what's a lean protein? But they can tell you, like, what gluten-free is and how, gluten does this, that, and the other.
I'm doing the Whole30 or the...
Yeah.
You really start, like, getting into, like, the psychology of shit in the tribe. Like, people like to say they're doing this and that. And I would add, like, I really like those primary food filters, the way you worded it. It's kind of, like, really big, important principles. I would add 2 more to them. One is... Well, you said the one already is there's not one size fits all nutrition for everybody.
Right.
There's not, man. Like,
right.
And is what happens a lot. Well, let me back up before I even get into that.
Well, see, there's infinite ways to apply that primary food filter.
Yeah. But I really like that. Those are good, like, base rules, and we'll start the conversation from there. Is one, the 2 things I'll add to is, one, there's not a one size fits all. And that's where you start getting into the secondary, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And the other one is where I see almost everybody fail is they don't pick something that's sustainable.
Yes.
That's such a huge thing, man. Yeah. That is the biggest fucking thing. They just hear about this new great diet because their best friend did it and they lost a ton of goddamn weight. And so they jump on board. But it's not whatever they're doing is not a sustainable thing,
right?
And you have to, and what's sustainable for you, James, is gonna be what's different than what's sustainable for me.
Yes,
and you have to sort that out, man. It's not. That is one of the biggest things, man. Like, if you're eating, like you just covered, man. As long as you eat whole foods, try to eat minimally processed shit. Eat good stuff, proteins, fats, carbs, and you're not overeating, and something you can stick to on a day in, day out basis, that's what's going to be your best bet.
Yeah.
Then if you start refining down from there for different areas of your life, if you're in a weight specific sport like we are, you got to get down to a certain weight class. You got to start getting more. You got to fine tune shit. You got to dial things in more. But yeah, those big things, like that sustainability one is huge. I see people fuck that up constantly.
Constantly, yeah. That's why there's a difference between, like, building good nutrition habits and following a diet.
Yes.
And following a diet is like it's almost like being a cook, right? Like, where you're following the fucking recipe. It says this much of this and this, and you never deviate from that recipe.
Being a baker. Baker's right on the.
Yeah.
There's no, you don't vary from it. Like, this is it.
Well, yeah, the other one's like a cook versus a chef. Right, like a chef is you're like, he understands.
He improvises.
He can improvise and he can make changes. And the problem is, I think a lot of times you have to start out as a cook or a baker, whatever it is. You have to start out that way. Like, I'm a big believer in follow the system. Just follow the system, and then once you see how it's working for you, make adjustments based on that. So, for example, like the ramping isometric stuff. Man, that's probably the first system that I followed this long without making some adjustments. But almost every time I come back from something, like, look, I'm just gonna, like, I suspend my disbelief. That's what I call it. I just suspend any disbelief that I have. I'm gonna buy into this for 4 to 6 weeks. I'm gonna do it, and then at the end of that time, I'm gonna come back up for air, take a look around, start to put my critical thinking cap back on, and say, okay, what's going on? Where am I at? How did this work? What adjustments do I need to make? And it's that coming back up and starting to put that critical thinking cap back on, because so many people just want to, like, hand that off. They don't want to have to think. That's why they like the diets, because someone else is thinking for them. But the problem is if you never start to have that critical thought process yourself, you can't assess whether it's really working for you or not. And that's, like you're saying, people, something worked for someone and then they try it and it's not sustainable for them. They're just following the diet and they're not being man, this doesn't work. Like, ketogenic, for example, like that's...
No, we'll dive into that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a real hot one right now in the martial arts and jiu-jitsu community, but it doesn't work as well for all people. And so...
For most people.
For a lot of people.
I'm going to piss a lot of people off.
No, I agree with you. We've actually, jiu-jitsu is not a good ketogenic sport. Like, when we dive into this
we'll dive
more.
Into it.
But anyway, so yeah, no, I totally agree, man. And I actually kind of touching on that, something that goes along, no matter what you're doing, whether you're just kind of doing primary food filters versus secondary, you're following a diet, you don't have to be 100%. I think that's the other thing that makes it unsustainable for people, is thinking they have to be 100%. That, the way that I teach people is, look, if you're doing 80-20, if 80% of your meals are falling within the guidelines that you're looking for and 20% aren't, you're going to maintain where you're at. You're not going to make any improvements. You're going to maintain. So if you're in like really good shape and you're in good, like, you can get away with an 80-20 diet. I mean, fuck, I put that to the test every day. And but if you want to improve, you need to be doing 90-10. Like 90% of your meals need to be falling within what you've set for yourself. And one, this gives you some cheat meals. It also gives you some mental flexibility. So you miss one meal and you're not like, I fucked the whole thing up. I quit.
That happens so much.
And that's where that 100%, like 100% is unsustainable. If you go into every week or every day thinking like you got to be on 100%, and if you're not, you fucked up, then that's unsustainable. But the other side is you have to be realistic that if you're not making at least, 80-20, you're going to be doing worse. If you're doing 70-30, 60-40, like, you're going to slowly be moving in the wrong direction. So, like, the very least, man, you got to have your nutrition dialed in for at least 80% of your meals, or else you're going to be moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And it's tough because people start beating themselves up. And then what I see happen a lot is someone has one shitty meal or whatever it is. Well, they're like, well, I say it was earlier in the day. Well, I fucked up. So then they just eat like shit the rest of the day. They just cancel. Well, this day's, I fucked this day up. Let's just go ahead and start fresh tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Or if it's but then that progresses. Like, say they fuck up on a Friday. Like, well, I'll just eat like shit this weekend and I'll get back to it Monday.
Yeah.
And then that just keeps growing. Like, I screwed up on Monday. Well, this whole week's kind of fucked.
Yep.
Let's just fix it next Monday.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, 6 months goes by and you just keep justifying yourself. Like, dude, it's okay, man, if you screw up. Like, you're not going to be 100%.
1 meal at a time.
But that you have a chance to get back on track your very next meal.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Yeah, your next choice.
It
may not even be what you put in your mouth. Maybe what you say no to.
Yes.
Right? But that next choice you have.
That's you're back on track to that next choice.
Yep. Yeah.
That's important for people to remember.
Yeah,
because people beat themselves up and then they just throw it all out the window.
Yeah. Yeah, so, for sure, man. No, I think those are the two kind of overarching things that we've both seen throw people off, is, focusing on secondary food filters, not knowing what the basics are, and then just shooting for 100% and then just letting it all go to shit when you don't hit it. So if you take nothing else from this,
that's it.
That's
dude.
it, man.
You can shut this thing off now and take those lessons right there, man. Those are important.
Run with them. Those
pick something that's sustainable, principles. Whole foods.
Yep. Don't go, hungry, unplanned, all that stuff. Yep. I'd say maybe something close to that. And again, we've talked about this before. Listen to your body. Like, I think that 80% of the obesity problem in this country simply comes from people not listening to their body, both from how food makes you feel after you eat it, and also when you're just full. If people just stopped eating when they were full, you can't get fat. Like, you can't get... I'm not going to say can't, all right, because someone's going to prove me wrong. I always know people like to prove me wrong. Dude. I had somebody hurt themselves doing ramping isometrics the other day.
Did you?
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Man.
After I'm like, you can't hurt yourself, and we did the chest press.
Did he?
And he gets done. He's like, oh, my neck's hurt. And I was like, well.
Why are you feeling it in your neck?
Well, that's because he was doing this. And, he's doing the whole, hunching his neck up. And that's when I had to explain, like, man, you got to make sure when you hit that 100%, you're doubling down on the 80%. You're not going, you're just like nothing. So anyways, but it was funny. I've been doing this long enough to know that when I say you can't do this, like someone will prove me wrong. Yeah. But man, it's very hard, especially if you're following this. If you're following the primary food filters and you just stop eating when you're hungry, like, man, that's that'd be huge right there. And like you've said a lot of times, like paying attention to how foods make you feel.
Yeah, that's very important. How do they make you feel? Yeah, if you were to do like those primary filters, stop eating when you're full. You give yourself a second, like eat, and then just push the plate away, and don't instantly like, oh, I need dessert or I need this. Like, just stop.
Yeah.
And give it a second to let it sit, and then you'll realize, okay, I'm not really hungry. A little hack that I do a lot of times, like if I get done eating, because there's a lot of us, crave something sweet after you eat dinner or whatever. It's pretty common.
You got brought up.
Yeah, it's
age of
desserts, man.
Fucking breakfast.
Just go brush your teeth right away, instantly. Like you get done eating, and you feel like you're starting to crave something sweet, just go brush your teeth, man, and it'll kill that craving. And then it gives you a second. Oh, I'm full, dude. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Boom, you're on about your deal. But,
that's a good hack.
It's a good little hack, dude.
Yep. I like that. So, man, what else I got on here? Like knowing what the foods are. Again, we talked about this, like how many people just don't even know what a lean protein is, what an essential fatty acid is, what they want to eat. So, man, that's like, start there. Like if you don't fully understand like
you gotta educate
what
yourself.
Protein source. Yeah, and we were talking about this just a second ago. Like that's why people like diets, because the diets take the thinking away and someone's doing it for them, and then they come away from it and they don't really understand for themselves. Like they haven't gained any understanding themselves of like how to make these better decisions, because they don't understand like what the fuck protein is, or what's a vegetable or something like that. So I've that guy Dan John, strength coach I reference a lot. He's got a deal. He tells his athletes, he challenges them to eat 6 different types of vegetables each day. It doesn't even matter if it's even just like one pepper or something like that. Is like, just get 6, find 6 different vegetables each day to eat. And so it just gets them thinking. It's kind of a little bit of a challenge too, and so it gets you thinking in a little bit different way. And I guarantee if you eat 6 different kinds of vegetables, like you've eaten plenty of vegetables throughout the day. So
I can see that's obviously goes in one of those things that it's a principle to help teach you and get you introduced to new foods, but that's not sustainable. You're not going to eat 6 different vegetables every fucking day.
You can. Why not?
Good luck. You show me somebody that can stick to that for more than a month at a time.
Well,
30 days straight. Sustain. Let me see.
He's funny, dude. He works a lot with like special forces and Navy SEALs, and he said like those fuckers.
Those are outliers.
He's like, I tell them to eat 6, and those fuckers are competing with each other to get 8 or 10. And I know those are outliers.
Those are outliers. We're speaking normal people, general people.
Yeah.
That's
a good goal to have.
It's a good goal.
If you shoot for 4, if you shoot for 6, I guarantee you're going to get more than you would have if you had shot for fucking none.
But it's not. It's a good thing to introduce you to new vegetables and try new things. It's not sustainable. Get the fuck out of here. A normal person, yeah, right. Man, pack my lunchbox full with 6 different vegetables every day.
A cucumber, a baby pepper, a peppercini. I would throw.
You can always argue to the right side of it, James. I'm just telling you, it's not sustainable for most people.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care.
I ran out at 3.
Exactly.
I just proved my own point. I started to run out.
Get the fuck out of here, man. It's not sustainable. Even though anyways, we'll leave it at that.
Yes.
All right, next.
Man, what else I got on here? A big one that people do not think about is gut health and how the foods that you eat. So a lot of people don't eat fermented foods. And this is where vegetables come in, like the fiber and stuff comes in. That plays a big role as well. But a big thing too is fermented foods. So sauerkraut, kimchi. Kombucha is getting super popular. That's a ferment. You're basically drinking rotted tea there. So think about the gut health and make sure that as part of your overall nutrition program, you're thinking about getting these fermented foods in your diet as well. I think that's one that a lot of people just don't think about and they overlook.
And we're starting to get into, again, we're getting into your secondary principles. So we're starting to nitpick it down more, But yeah, fermented foods are important, and if kimchi's freaking good, man. Sauerkraut's good, and if you're not familiar with kimchi, go make friends with some Korean person, dude. They'll line you up, dude. I love kimchi, man. I love it. Dude, if you need to find yourself a good Korean person, make you some kimchi soup, kimchi jjigae, it's called. Kimchi soup is freaking phenomenal, dude.
I might be able to try that.
That's good, dude.
Kelly busts out the kimchi, and I'm like, man, I can't.
It smells. It's a little rough. The smell of it's a little rough. But I'm telling you, kimchi soup is so good if it's made right. If I was on death row, that might be one of my last meals. Dude, kimchi soup is good, dude.
With the fucking, what's
so
the Thai tea with the big balls?
Boba tea?
The boba tea.
Boba tea. I don't know if that's a probiotic.
No, I was just thinking like death row meal, dude.
I think there's a lot of sugar in that.
Yeah, no, that's anti-probiotic. That's feeding the wrong gut flora. But
anyways, find yourself a good Korean. Tell them to make you some kimchi chiga.
Yeah. You know, it actually, just kind of on a little side note, that Cooked book, and Michael Pollan's the guy who wrote it, and they've got that series now on Netflix based on it. And the last episode, the 4th episode, is on fermentation. And they talk about how fermented foods are almost kind of part of like the cultural identity. Like fermented foods in one culture are almost unedible and considered like disgusting by
a lot of
other cultures. And so, you know, he was talking about like pickled shark for, you know, the Norwegians. Yep. And how like to them it's great and everyone else is like gagging on it. And so you find the same thing with kimchi. Like kimchi was literally like they'd take the cabbage, you know, they'd go through the process and they would bury these crock pots in the earth. Yep. And it was a way for them to you know, have food later on in the winter. And so, but it was a very cultural, local thing. So like if you don't grow up eating it or have been exposed to it early on, like odds are, like for me, like I love sauerkraut, I love pickles, like there's definitely you know, fermented foods that I like, but yeah, man, a lot of those Asian fermented foods are just not it. And so anyways, I just thought it was interesting that it is like kind of one of the ways that cultures identify themselves, like by some of the fermented foods. So well, there you go. Cool. So yeah, man, I mean that's the gut health thing. That's kind of my basic. I was just sitting down trying to think of what the big mistakes, kind of what the big overarching mistakes I see people make. I mean, besides that, man, I would say like, oh man, this is a big one. Don't keep crap in your house. And if you're a parent, no, your kids don't need that crap. Mm-hmm. Like that drives me up the wall, man. You know, parents that feeding their kids sugar and stuff they never put in their own face, and they're like, oh, well, they're just kids. And it's like, no, they're human beings, and this affects them. And plus, you know, if you don't have that stuff in your house, it's harder for you to eat it, right? Like I have an Oreo cookie addiction. Guess what I never keep in my house? Fucking Oreo cookies. So that's a big one. But I think a lot of people, especially if they're parents, they allow themselves to fall back on the trap of, well, I have this in the house for the kids. And then they have to fight that temptation, and it's hard to do.
That's tough, man, because there's, you know, for me, the hardest part of my day for self-control and discipline is usually in the evening when I get tired after a long day, whether it's training or work. Man, and I'm hungry and I'm tired, dude, my self-control it's difficult, dude. And if you got bullshit around, you're going to go for the bullshit. If you just don't have bullshit in the house and you're tired, the likelihood of you driving to the store to buy some bullshit is pretty small. Yeah. And so you fuck it. Whatever's at the house, what you're going to eat, or you're just not going to eat. So you're setting yourself up for success as opposed to failure. Yeah. Because if you have that bullshit there and you know it's there, you might be able to resist it for a day or two. Yeah. But about the third night or fourth night in a row of thinking about it, when you get home, you're going to cave. Yeah. You're going to cave, man. Yeah. So just don't give yourself that option, man. Yeah. It makes it.
Yeah. That's a huge one. So, man, that's about it. I mean, outside of just staying hydrated, I think like a lot of people, hunger is just kind of, you know, drink some water before you eat. Make sure you're really hungry. And
most of us are dehydrated. You don't realize most of us don't drink enough water, especially guys. We tend to sweat more, and especially if you're a physically active type person. Like honestly, you don't realize even during the winter when it's not hot, you don't realize how dehydrated you're getting. Yeah, drinking a lot of water is important. Yeah, so, and that'll help you stay, be not hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it all kind of go in. So
cool. All right, man. Well, we'll dive into some of the shit I was thinking about.
Yes, let's get into some particulars.
Yeah. So basically, kind of like the secondary filters or particulars. Yeah. Like, so the first one I experimented with, I don't remember when I've done all these. I've gone through cycles on all of them. Is just the old calories in, calorie out, calorie counting type way of eating. there's and the way I'm gonna talk about all these is basically kind of the pros and cons about all of them. The calorie counting one, dude, I think everybody every once in a while should get like a little food tracker. Like MyFitnessPal is free. Everybody can download it on their phone, man. It's a free app, and you can go through and track what you eat all day long. See how, because most people have no idea how many calories they're eating. You just don't.
Yeah.
You really don't. And so do that if you want to lose weight, you need to have a baseline of where, like, how much am I eating every day? So it's a good place to start. Whether you're going to be a calories in, calories out type guy, or but you're going to do the zone or keto, whatever. I don't give a fuck what you're going to do. Start there. Just for like a week. Be dogmatic about it. Track everything you eat. And it'll tell you, like, oh man, I'm eating 5,000 calories a day. Shit, I didn't realize it. Or, man, I'm only eating 1,000 calories. Either end of the spectrum is not going to be real good for you.
Right.
Or it depends on what your goal is. That's a good place to start. I think it's important because most of us don't know. And that gets you reading labels on packages. That's kind of like a very entry-level way to get started.
It's being conscious.
It's being conscious of what you're stuffing in your pie hole.
Yeah.
And that's important. Most people, you go buy a little package of nuts or trail mix from the grocery store and you're eating it while you're driving. Dude, you look at that, you don't realize how many calories you just consumed in that.
Yeah.
Dude, like, oh shit, they tell you calories per serving, but there's 10 servings in that bag, and you ate that whole fucking bag.
Yeah.
Dude, that one bag of trail mix was 1,700 calories. Like, you don't think about that shit. So
yeah.
But on the other side of that, tracking calories is not very accurate. Even what they put on packages and shit, dude, it's not very accurate. And they'll break something up into 10 servings in a package. Each serving's a quarter cup or whatever it is. If you're out on the go, you're not measuring that.
Yeah.
So how much did you really eat? So it gets squirrely fast. You're not going to be real accurate.
Yeah.
That's a downfall for that one.
You got to be real, like, for someone who's who's really into that attention to detail, and that's like,
you got to start measuring weighing your food.
Yeah. For some people it's great. Like some people
love
to do it.
Some people love it.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think for most people it's a good kind of entry point to get them starting to think about what they're putting in their face. But from a sustainability
it's not sustainable.
For most people,
I agree 100%, because once you really start dialing that in, you will have to start measuring your food, measuring and weighing your food. Like, okay, I'm going to have 4 ounces of sweet potato. I'm going to have 6 ounces of chicken breast. Boom, 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 boom. You got to get on a goddamn food scale, and you got to do it. Once you do that long enough, you start being able to eyeball how much 6 ounces of chicken is.
Yeah.
So you're pretty close, man. And if you're not an Olympic athlete and you're not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't need to be weighing every meal. You know what I mean? Like, it's not sustainable, dude. You're going to wear yourself out. Some people like to do it. I think everybody should do it at some point in time, because it makes you mindful of what's going on.
Yeah.
It just builds that kind of that foundation. So there's that. I mean, there's a lot. I'm not going to beat it to death. Those are my 2 big pros for, like, quote unquote calorie counting.
Yeah.
Most people have no clue how much you're eating every day.
Yep.
And if you want to lose weight, you got to start somewhere. And if the old adage, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Yeah.
You got to know where you're at, man.
Yeah.
So it's
to be different from what you are, you must first know what you are. I mean, that's the
So, and like you say, it's not a sustainable thing. It gets old. It gets tedious, dude, having to type all your meals into your phone or write them down. And on that note, if you are going to do that, as soon as you eat, don't fall into the trap like, I'll just add them in at the end of the day. Because you're not going to be accurate, dude. You're going to screw it up.
You got to write it down when you
write it down right when you eat it, or if you have your phone handy, type it right into your fitness. That FitnessPal is pretty sweet, man. It's got a ton of foods on there because it's a collective thing. Everybody in the goddamn world who uses it, they can upload a food to there. And so lots of times you can just type in the brand or whatever it is, boom, it'll pop up. It'll pop up with 1,000 different options. Oh, it was that one.
Yeah.
So it makes it, as far as that goes, that really helps.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier than old.
It's a useful tool, dude.
Yeah.
It really is a useful tool. So start there. That's how I played with that. I go through streaks with that, especially when a tournament's coming up and I got to get my weight down.
Yeah.
I like, okay, how many? Let's take a normal day for me. How many calories am I eating? Oh, I got to drop this. Blah blah blah. But anyways.
Yeah.
Another one along that same vein is the IIFYM. It's if it fits your macros. So you got to start knowing what a macro is. Your proteins, fats, carbs. So then you got to start, okay, how many So you either got to go see a registered dietitian, you get online, do a calculator. There's all kinds of if it fits your macros calculators. Most of them you got to pay for. There's some free ones. How many macros should I be eating every day? How many proteins, how many fats, how many carbs? Once you figure that out, okay, so then now I have a percentage. Okay, I have this many calories. I need this many grams of protein. Boom, boom, boom. Like it starts.
Yeah.
And again, if you're dialing in for a competition, it's not a bad way to go.
Yeah, if you're a pro,
if you're a serious competitor, you need to get somewhere. It's not a bad way to go. Again, a lot of these I'm gonna talk about aren't 100% sustainable, man. They're just.
I'll say too, like going along with that. And I mean, I know you use these things. Like it's getting easier too because there's food services.
Yes.
So it's definitely there are things that are making it more sustainable for you to eat that way on a more consistent basis. But yeah, for most people could. But again, like now you have to pay. Like they're not cheap. You're outsourcing your food prep to someone who's doing all of this stuff for you.
You're going to pay for it.
Yeah, you're either going to pay for it in money or you're going to pay for it in time. Yeah. But it's they're definitely like if you're trying to dial in your weight for a competition or
you have to do this kind of stuff.
Athlete, man, you have to do it.
You really do. If you're getting down to a certain weight class, you have to do this kind of shit, man. Yep. You got to pick which one's going to work for you.
Yeah, and it depends on how much weight you're losing. That's why I like to not getting really far outside your weight class in the first place.
Stay healthy, ready to battle all the time. That way, if
you shouldn't be having to drop like 20, 30 pounds to hit your weight class, man.
And I think people skew that. Those meatheads that love the UFC and this combat sports. You hear about these freaks that cut 20, 30 pounds. Like Khabib. I love that dude. He's probably one of my favorite fighters. That dude walks around 190, almost 200 pounds, fights at 155.
Yeah.
For the rest of you out there,
that's not.
Don't fucking do that. He's a professional athlete, man.
Yeah.
He's got a team backing him. He's got people preparing his meals, telling him what to eat. Yeah. Registered diet. Real nutritionists.
And those guys still fuck up.
And they still miss.
He's missed a couple weight cuts. Yeah. You hear people about not being able to fight because the weight cut was too. They get
hospitalized because they're trying to lose too much weight. Like, dude, like that. Those people are outliers, dude.
Yeah.
They're, like for your average person, like if you're going for a jiu-jitsu tournament. Dude, don't be trying. Even don't try to do what college wrestlers do, Olympic wrestlers do. Yeah. Man, a lot of them, they cut a lot of weight.
Yeah, especially as you get older, man.
Dude, it gets harder to cut weight. It takes more of a toll on you. You're not going to perform at your best,
and it doesn't all come back like that's. No. Like, as you get older, your muscle mass is one of the most important fucking things for you to retain and hang on to. And if you're dieting down, and eventually that muscle mass doesn't come back the same way. You hit your 30s and start getting towards your 40s. And that weight cut, you come back and a greater percentage of that weight that you gain back is fat. Like your muscle mass does not bounce back the way that it used to. And man, you need to be hanging on to that muscle mass with everything you've got.
Yeah, so, we could have a whole episode about weight cutting. Maybe we will. That might be a good episode coming up in competitions. But
in my mind, I don't think you should be more than like 5 pounds outside your fucking. If you're trying to cut more than 5 pounds,
you screwed up.
You
screwed up a while ago, but I agree. But the next one, and these are kind of all in the same vein, was like the zone diet. That really got brought into popularity probably 7-8 years ago through CrossFit. And then for people who don't know, they broke that down. Again, you're dealing with your macros, your proteins, carbs, your fat. They broke it into blocks where like one block of protein is 7 grams of protein. One block of carbs is 9 grams, I think, and then one block of fat is 1.5 grams. So again, they tried to simplify it for everybody. I should have this many blocks daily. Okay, I'm going to have 6 meals today. Each meal needs to have these amount of blocks.
Yeah.
So it's just another way of getting yourself to eat good foods, how much, and just another way to. But again, you're measuring.
Yeah.
You're having to weigh and measure, and it's not a sustainable thing. Like you're not going to do that forever, man.
No.
But once you do it, it's not terrible. You've done one of these methods. You get pretty good at eyeballing shit, man. And sometimes I still will, man. Like when I'm packing my lunches for the week, that's another thing we can talk about planning. Like you need to plan your meals, prepare.
Oh yeah.
You need to have a food prep day. We can get into that, but I still will, man. I'll break out my food scale, and I get my salads or whatever I'm making for that week, and I'll get all my little Ziploc containers and zero out my food scale. That way I can just dish it up. Like, oh yep, I got so many grams of that. Boom, I put the next one on there. That way I'm not eyeballing. Like, is this one even? Nope, man. I just fucking put it on my food scale. I just dish it up, doing it. Once you get comfortable doing it, it seems a little excessive at first, but it's not bad, man. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to be an above average person, sometimes you got to do fucking above average shit. You know what I mean?
I hear you,
and
man.
that's where it comes. You know?
No,
But anyways, the next one, that kind of
the zone diet's a good one. That's
been around a long time.
Yeah, that's been around a while. I first came like early 2000s.
Yeah,
they were one of the first ones on it because people forget, man. At the end of the 2000s, like fat, or the end of the 1990s, fat was still this toxic. No one ate it, and I remember it was it Body Opus by Dan Duchaine? Yeah, man. You started getting these rumblings about these fucking dudes who are just getting ripped on massive amounts of fat and cutting down their carbs, and it's like, what? What's going on here? And the zone diet was one of the first, more popular approaches that kind of started to buck that trend. Like today, we don't even. It's like fats. You still fight it, but it's nowhere near like it was, man. Like we remember when it was like. Zero fat was the goal. It was fucking lean chicken breast, rice, steamed broccoli, man.
Yep.
If you were, that was your fucking meal, as little fat as you could possibly get. Yep. And then here comes the zone diet saying like, no, man, you need 30% of your stuff. And today we take it for granted, but the zone did a huge service to
the doctor. I don't even know if he's a doctor, but Barry Sears came up with it. He's kind of the one who slapped a label on it, the zone diet, and wrote the books and shit. Yep. It's not a bad way to eat. Any of these that I'm talking about, there's pros and cons to it. Again, like we've talked about, you have to find what works for you and what you can sustain. And it's fun to play with this shit, man. Experiment, see where your weight is, how you feel, and all that. The next one that you'll hear people say, "Oh, I'm doing the Whole30." That's just basically just eating real fucking clean for 30 days, man. Super clean. Like just no processed foods, no refined carbohydrates, no sugars, boom, boom, boom. But they like to slap a name on it. So it makes people feel like they're part of a club. They can hashtag Whole30 on their fucking Instagram
Whole30, post. Baby.
Get the fuck out of here, man. Again, it's a good idea, but that one for some reason the Whole30 thing always annoyed me because it really just is. You're just slapping a label on eating fucking clean. That's all you're doing, man. You just created something that you can put a hashtag on. Or you're on Whole32 and you can high five somebody at the gym. Fuck you, man. Just eat clean. That one just...
They're trying to create a CrossFit culture around just eating clean.
That's exactly what that is. They're just trying to create a fucking culture around it. Yeah. So, whatever. But it's works, good. Man. If it works for you, don't let me be a cynical asshole about it.
Here's one of the things, too. I know this isn't on there. I just want to throw out, like, man, people fucking poo-poo on Weight Watchers. But, like, dude, Weight Watchers is effective.
Yeah,
like they've helped a shit ton of people lose weight. And guess what? They got a point system. Sounds extremely similar to
the zone
and counting calories and stuff like
that. All those things are just trying to simplify shit for people.
Finding a tribe, right? Yep. They're creating a tribe around it. And so there's a lot of, people like to make fun of some of this stuff, but it's effective for a reason. Yes. And if you look at it and you figure out what principles are they employing to be effective, then you can decide for yourself whether, like, okay, well, I want to do Weight Watchers, or you're like, well, I can, Bruce Lee, retain what's useful and reject what's useless. So, but anyways, that's the zone.
And it's not bad. I'm just kind of being a
no, man. No, but we're grumpy.
Then you get into what the paleo/caveman diet, which is pretty much what you eat on a Whole30 is the same shit you'd eat on a paleo caveman diet. Because strict paleo, they're telling you you're not eating any legumes, you're not eating dairy. Yeah. If you guys haven't heard of this shit, fucking look it up, man. There's info all over on it. Paleo, diet would be what you can hunt or gather. So if you can fish it, if you can kill it, meat, if you can gather it, nuts, seeds, berries, that's it. Yeah. So, I mean, again, they're good frameworks, because that really falls into what we just talked about, like your primary filter, eating whole foods.
Right.
And so if you want to jump into the paleo tribe and say you're paleo, if that helps you to be part of that tribe, fucking run with it, man. Yeah. And that's really what that is. Yeah. Just eating whole foods, man. And people like it, to be... dogmatic about it and say they're paleo. That's cool, man, and whatever. I'm so past all that shit.
We get a little. The thing is, you get a little cynical, because you get into it and you're like, you realize that man, there's some good stuff here, but there's a lot of just kind of cult mindset stuff as well. And so I know what you mean. Like people just, it's like I'm paleo and you're not. Oh, you're almost like a lesser person because you know and it's like, dude, motherfucker, like cavemen weren't eating this shit. Like don't.
You got a paleo protein bar, pre-workout bar?
Yeah. Where'd that come from, man?
Are you growing those in your backyard? Did you dig that fucking thing up?
Get out of here, man. So even then, it's like unless you're like really living in a cave and hunting gathering, even then, like the hunter and gatherers ate what was available during that season in their area. Like there were hunter gatherers that never fucking tasted a blueberry. You know what I mean? So it's like that's not like getting this wide variety of foods isn't paleo at all. Like that's completely unnatural for us to have access to this wide variety of foods. Like you get stuck eating the same goddamn thing over and over and over again all the time. So anyways, it like you said, man, it's good to give people a framework and a support system. But it's just keeping in mind, like, man, don't get too dogmatic
it's a principle.
about this.
Like we talk about with our jiu-jitsu, like a lot of this nutrition conversation is, there's pros and cons to all this shit. It's the big principles you have to distill from it. And, man, if you can just do that, like the big things you talked about, you're going to be successful. Yeah. But if you want to jump into these little camps and dial it down, that's cool. Yeah. The next one, before I start beating up on this one, the intermittent fasting. Because the intermittent fasting is going to kind of fall into the keto. I think the intermittent fasting is really good for people.
I think so too, man.
I really, because, again, it starts making you be mindful of what you're eating and how much you're eating all the time. You know, and so if you give yourself a window to eat in, you think about that shit a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And then if you track it a little bit, like, okay, I had an 8-hour window today. Boom, I jumped on my fitness pal. I tracked it. Like, oh, man, I didn't eat much today, but I felt good. Yeah. Maybe I don't need to eat as much as I thought I did.
Dude, what was that book with the, gosh, man, the dude just had the strange name. It came out several years ago, but he was the first guy to talk about...
The Warrior Diet guy?
Yes, the Warrior Diet. Ori Hofmeckler or something like that. Yes, dude, that book, that was one of those books that when I read it really changed my whole perspective because you're like, because again, man, I'm a big student of history on some levels, and I'm like, the Roman soldiers weren't eating every 3 to 4 hours. Like they'd wake up, they'd have a light breakfast, they might get the chance to do some light, grazing or snacking during the day while they're marching or setting up camp, and then at night they ate a fucking shit ton and repeated. And I was like, you can see that pattern over and over and over again through history. Like, man, our ancestors did not stuff their faces all day long. Like, they ate a light breakfast. So, like, for me, I've never been real hungry in the morning, and I always felt like I was unusual. Like, that's really weird because everybody around me is like, you need a big breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You need to shove all these calories in your face first thing before you've ever fucking done anything, right? And so I always felt like I was weird. But like not eating much in the morning and then just kind of grazing and then like eating a bunch at night worked naturally for me. But again, you come up and your usual thing is like eat a big breakfast, eat every 3 to 4 hours. Actually, you want to start eating less as the day goes on. Like dinner needs to be your smallest meal. And so you're actually eating the opposite way of what you could argue would be actually our more natural way of eating. So man, the intermittent fasting thing, I think is I
think it's good, and you have to do what works for you. It's like, for example, for me, like I like that. I stick to intermittent fasting pretty regularly, like an 8-hour window, and I play like one that's really easy for me to stick to is like eating from 2 in the afternoon to 10 at night. I usually don't even make it at 10. Like I go to bed before then or something. Yeah. So it ends up being like a smaller window. I'm eating like 2 to 9, 8 or 9, roughly. For me, man, sustainability wise, that's super easy. That doesn't take much discipline.
Yeah, it really makes food prep easy.
Yeah, man. And I mean, there's a couple periods in the morning, early afternoon where I start getting hungry. But you're usually busy during the day like that, so those hungry, it doesn't bother you, Now, if I switch it the other way and I start eating my first meal pretty early in the day, and then cut my eating off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or whatever the case may be. Discipline-wise, that's tougher for me, But again, you just have to play with it and see what works for you. Yeah, that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah,
and I like doing that. I've been doing that for quite a while now.
Yeah, I found that to be the most like sustainable, like you said. I mean, I kind of still naturally do it. Like I'll wake up in the mornings and I'll have a cup of fatty coffee, so it's not like technically like full on intermittent fasting, but I'm not getting any like sugars or carbs or anything like that. I'll just throw like some organic butter and some coconut oil in my coffee, and then man, it's not nothing for me to like go till like noon, 1 o'clock, and then I'm starting to get a little hungry, and then so yeah, it's almost like I kind of have to think about eating during the day, and really it's a fucking leftover thing from my bodybuilder days where I literally had a watch set for every 3 hours to remind me to stuff something in my pie hole. And so it's I think that it's probably out of all the specific diets that we've talked about, and I like it because it's not really a diet as much as it's a method of eating, because when you eat you still have to make good choices, you still have to run what you're eating through these food filters, but when you compress that eating window to just like you're saying like 8 hours, then you have so many less chances to make bad decisions, and it's so much easier for you to plan ahead and make sure that you got things where you need them to be successful. So,
and it may sound like a little restrictive to people, but man, if you're eating whole foods, like you don't end up craving the nasty shit.
No.
You still will have cravings, and you'll feel satiated too. You won't be hungry all the time. You're thinking, oh man, I can't eat for 16 hours of the day.
Yeah.
Well, you got to figure if you get 8 hours of sleep, well, then you only have another 8 hours to contend with. And if you're eating, in 8 of those hours, you're that 8 hours technically where you're waking, you're not eating in theory. Dude, if you're eating good, solid whole foods, like you're not that hungry in that time.
No.
Like it's not like your stomach's just growling and like.
No, man.
It's really it's fun to play with, and I think it's pretty healthy for people.
Yeah, I think so too. I think especially for jiu-jitsu people, it's a good one. I think it's better than like just straight like keto or whatever.
But then also I see people fucking up the fasting thing too. They take something that could potentially be healthy and really making it not healthy by like, you'll say, I've been fasting for 36 hours. Well, that's cool to do, something like that once in a while. But then in the first meal off that fast, they go to break and it's just some bullshit. Like they finally get to themselves where they just snap and they're going to fucking Taco Bell and eating something disgusting. Like, whoa, dude, why did you even bother fasting?
That wasn't a planned hunger.
That wasn't a planned hunger.
I mean, it was, but you didn't plan it all the way through to the end.
And because if you're gonna fast, you need to be mindful of what you're gonna break your fast with.
Yeah, you're not done until you've broken the fast.
What's gonna be your food, and that's a good way to see how food makes you feel. Is you fast for a while, then just introduce one food.
Yeah.
Give it a little while. See how you feel. Like, I feel pretty good. I didn't feel so good with that. Well, maybe your body doesn't do good with that. We could get into. We're running short on time here, but that's a good book that kind of brings that mindset into it. Is the Rob Wolf's newer book, The Wired to Eat.
Yeah.
That's a really good way. Basically, just really sum it up. He tells you to like eat really clean for 30 days. It's kind of like a Whole30.
Yeah.
Clean your system out. And then start introducing foods back in. Like he gives you a specific measure of amount, like a quarter cup of rice or whatever it is, a quarter cup of white rice, and then you're checking your blood sugar levels. You're actually checking your blood glucose levels like you're diabetic.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing how your body reacts to certain foods, because how I react to eating a banana is going to be different than you.
Yeah.
Maybe my blood sugar is going to fucking just skyrocket and stay up there. Like, man, yours might do what a banana was supposed to do, is to kind of up your blood sugars and come back down and level out, and you're good. But you don't know until you start testing it.
Yeah,
that's I think a great place for people to start too, is a book like that.
Yeah. But, I will say it's a little poking your fucking finger every time you eat, measuring your blood sugar. Like that's most people are not going to be able to.
Yeah, I play with that every once in a while.
I do too. I mean, I got a blood sugar meter I play around with, but it's definitely not something I'm poking my finger after every meal for a sustained period of fucking time, man.
But we are running short on time because I want to go teach and train. Let me talk about I'm not going to get to spend as much time about this as I'd like, but the keto diet. So first of all, the ketogenic diet, man, super popular right now. I'll sum it up real quick. Really what it is getting your body to try to use fat for energy as opposed to sugar. So if you fast 24 for 48, 72 hours, you would get your body into a state of ketosis. And that's, in essence, your body starts burning up your fat stores that you have. That's really it. And it's not a new fucking thing. They started doing this back in the 1920s. They figured out getting kids with epilepsy into a state of ketosis helped with their seizures. But obviously, starving a 5-year-old that's got epilepsy is not a good thing to do.
Right, yeah.
So then they started to figure out, well, how do we get to nutritional ketosis? And like they were playing with this in the 1920s. It started getting into medical literature, as far as, articles and textbooks even back in like the 1940s. So it's not a new fucking thing.
Right.
Okay, so that being said, getting your body into the state to where you're burning fat is totally different than where being fat adapted.
Yeah. So being in ketosis is different than being fat adapted.
100%
Yes.
People screw that up. They think just because they're pissing on a strip and they've got some extra ketones in their urine, they're fat adapted. Fuck you, you're not. I hate to tell you, you're not. Go listen to Don D'Agostino, probably one of the, he's a neuroscientist, a scientist. Like, this dude is wicked smart. He's done a ton of studies on this. He even says to become fat adapted, it's going to take a minimum of 3 months, maybe 6, maybe 8 months, depending on the person.
Yep.
So really wrap your mind around that. That means you pretty much got to be in a constant state of ketosis for, let's just say you're an outlier and you can get adapted in 3 months. You got to be in a constant state of ketosis for 3 months. Good luck with that. It's a very restrictive diet. And to keep your body there for 3 months straight, to train it to switch over to fat, most people can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's where most people miss the ship on this diet. They think just because they're peeing on a strip or eat. Okay, let me back up to that. If you are on a quote-unquote ketogenic diet, if you're not testing your blood ketones with a meter, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you're just guessing.
You're guessing.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. The strips are cheaper and you can do it that way, but it's not the real accurate way. You need to be testing your blood. And those things aren't cheap. The meter itself is cheap, but the strips are like $10 a pop. So every time you're testing it, dude, it's like $10.
Yeah.
If you want to go deep into it, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
But most people don't. So they just like to jump on the keto wagon. Another thing with that, jiu-jitsu, we're jiu-jitsu guys, is a glycolytic activity.
It is.
I don't care the fuck who you talk to. There's so much science behind that. These bursts, you need sugars to fuel that, man.
Sugars to fuel it, yeah.
And where you hear about athletes becoming fat adapted, it's fucking triathletes, these long endurance type people. It's not people that are bursting and wrestling like in these all-out maximum outputs.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not what it is. It's not what it was designed for.
No.
So there's a lot of misconceptions about it. I think it's good for, some people can get healthy with it. It makes you mindful about what you're eating. You can lose some weight doing it. But don't get it twisted, man. I think that a lot of people get it twisted. Like, no, you're not fucking fat adapted.
Yeah.
Have you been in a constant state of ketosis for 3 months? And, if somebody wants to argue with me, man, like, put yourself through a test. Like, be super fucking strict for, like, okay, let's say you can do it for 30 days. Like, get yourself really into ketosis. Like, you don't fuck up at all. I'm talking no fruit, not too much protein. Because really, like, dude, if you want a clinical level of ketosis, like a diet, it's 90% fat. 90% of your nutrients all day long is fat. 10% is protein with very little carbs.
Yeah.
That's your nutritional level of diet. I might be a little bit off. I might be like 85 and 10. But it's like a 90-10.
Yeah.
A modified ketosis is what most people do, is like a 75. Like a 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carb. That's kind of where most people will. That's still really fucking tough to do, man.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a decent sized guy and you need to eat 2,500 calories a day. Go do the fucking math and tell me how much fat you need to eat every day. Because a lot of times you eat too much protein, it's going to kick you out of ketosis. So back to what I was saying, put yourself through a test, man. Get yourself an air assault bike. And that's a fucking glycolytic activity. Just try to break that fucking thing. So get yourself into set up like 30-second sprints. Do like 10 30-second sprints. Give yourself a 2 minutes rest in between. And get yourself in that state of ketosis and fucking just empty it, dude. Try to break that bike. See how many watts you can get to, how many calories you can burn, whatever the meter's going to give you. Then wait a week or two, get some sugar in your system. Then try it after you eat some good sugar, after you eat some berries or something. Tell me how much better you're going to do.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you'll get people that argue like, oh, I feel good when I'm in ketosis. Like, man, you're not really you're not fat adapted, man.
Yeah.
I don't listen to the scientist on it. Read the fucking articles, man. Like, you're not fat adapted.
Yeah.
And it's not going to fuel jiu-jitsu.
And fat adapt is not really your goal as a jiu-jitsu player.
No.
Anyways, that's the whole thing is like you want, really what you want, because like you were saying, man, a lot of this research in the ketogenic diet is being done, like you said, like on kids with epilepsy and extreme endurance athletes.
Yep.
And so they've got, much different needs. What we need is more what's known as metabolic flexibility. You should be able to burn fats and carbs for fuel. And the problem that we run into in today's society is people's bodies can't burn fat for fuel because of all the constant insulin and just the metabolic environment created by today's modern Western diet. And so the pendulum swings the other way where they're like, all right, well, we're just gonna have you burn nothing but fat. And that's not really the answer either, man.
No.
People think that the ketogenic diet is panacea, where they're gonna just all of their problems are gonna go away once they hit ketosis. And for most people, man, that just doesn't happen. Like, yeah, you find these people who adapt to it very well, whatever.
There is outliers. Like what I'm saying,
for sure.
All this stuff we're talking about today is for just your broad spectrum of people. There's always outliers that can prove you wrong. There is. But dude, I can almost guarantee if you're listening to this fucking podcast, you're not a goddamn outlier. No. Don't bullshit yourself.
No.
There's very few of them out there. And it's as simple as that. And if you're a female, females have a lot harder time getting into ketosis than males do, just the hormone levels.
Right.
And there's been plenty of, or not plenty, there's research on that too. So if you're a female and you're trying this, you really need to be checking your blood ketone levels. You need to get the meter, spend the money on the strips. It's not doing you any good, man. It's not this end all be all great fucking diet. It's not, man. I think a lot of people are really, as with any of these diets and these nutrition principles, is what happens. One person does something very similar to it and has great success, so they think it's the answer for everybody. Yeah. It's not the case, man.
Yeah. In my experience, the ketogenic diet, people who are really overweight and have a shit ton of fat to lose, or people who are super lean and they're trying to fucking just a fitness model or a bodybuilder, someone who is just trying to go down from 8% to 5% or less body fat. So that's where, again, in my experience, I've seen the ketogenic diets be the most successful. It's the people in the middle that they don't work for as much. If you're just, well,
and on that note, I agree with you. But on that note, you take some big fat person that you said a ketogenic diet would work for, guess what? Any fucking diet's gonna work for them.
Well, I know, yeah.
Because if they didn't get to that state of being obese because they had a good nutrition plan. So if you go from eating McDonald's fucking 10 times a week and being a lazy fat fuck to having a good solid nutrition plan and planning out your meals,
right? Yeah,
you're gonna lose weight.
Yeah. So
you can slap whatever goddamn label you want on that. They're gonna see success.
Yeah.
On the other end of the spectrum, like a fitness model, a fitness to figure model. Yeah, but that's a whole other ballgame right there.
The difference with both those people, they're usually doing it under some sort of supervision.
Right.
I mean, so there's someone who's helping them with it. But, this army of amateur, ketosis people that have taken over out there, it kind of makes me laugh. It's definitely, man, it's the pendulum swinging too far.
It's the fad right now.
It is.
It's all the rage.
It's like we were saying, we remember when it was all carbs and zero fat, and now it's swung the other way. And it's like most things, it's in the middle, guys. It's using that as those primary food filters to kind of set what you eat on a regular basis. But
again, you got to eat for what activity you're going to do.
Yes,
that's a big thing. I think that Mike Dolce cat always talks about that. The nutritionist dude from the UFC. I think. I don't know much, but I think he talks a lot about is eating for what you're going to do or what you just did.
Yeah,
it's a good way to think about it because it's fuel, man.
It is. It's fuel.
It's fuel.
Yeah.
And we've all heard that stupid analogy. If you got a fucking race car, you're not putting bullshit fuel in it.
Yeah.
You're going to put the premium fuel in it.
Yeah.
Your body's the same way, man. It's you're not trying to run it on Oreos and McDonald's, man. You want meat and vegetables, man.
Make sure you got good fuel in your body to do it, man. That's what it.
That's really what it boils down to.
What it boils down to, for sure.
So I'm sure I pissed off some keto people out there, man. But
again, man, it's because they get it's it's an idea meritocracy that we're trying to promote here, and these are just our ideas, and it's based on our experience. Both, like you said, you've got a lot of personal experience with some of these things. I've got a lot of experience watching other, a large segment of people, because that's the problem, man. People forget, like, man, their experience is pretty limited. Most people's experience is very limited. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but most people get exposed to a few dozen people on a regular basis, and so, like, if you and maybe one of your other friends has success with something, it's very easy for you to start thinking like everyone is like this, and this is how it is for everyone. But when you start getting exposed to large, not hundreds, thousands of people, and you start to see, like, no, man, there's these things. Ketogenic diet can work for this guy and fuck this dude up. Yep. And so don't get too caught up in the specifics.
Be very mindful of that, because that's where it happens a lot. You have a close friend of yours that jumps on whatever label, a ketogenic diet, a paleo diet. They did the Whole30 and they lost a ton of weight. So you think that is a great diet. If you look at what they were doing prior to going on to that diet, it was probably garbage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, they're going to lose a lot of weight. So again, like I just said,
just about anything will work.
About anything is going to work for them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people really fuck that up. They don't understand, like, most of the time when you see these major transformations, pretty much anything they did was going to work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, and there's, again, back to like what we talked about, there's no one size fits all, man.
No.
The only way you know what's going to work for you is you got to experiment.
Yep.
And you got to make the mistakes. Like, I don't feel good eating this way. Let's do this.
Yeah. If it's not, like, look at the outputs, man. If the outputs aren't matching what you want,
change it.
Right?
Simple as that, man.
Yeah.
If you're bonking on the mat, well, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, and again, I know we're wrapping up here, but I wanted to say, like, if you're doing things right, like your BJJ specific nutrition, this is it. Like you shouldn't have to look at what's my nutrition for when I'm going to roll. What's different. It's like, man, how you eat is going to affect how you roll. And so if you're not, like you said, like if you're bonking on the mats, the answer isn't what pre-workout supplement do I need? What do I need to do going into my training? It's like, no, take a step back and look at your overall diet and nutrition strategies. And if those are dialed in, then you shouldn't have to be doing, again, like, drinking a cup of coffee or something before training is one thing. But man, most of these fucking pre-workout supplements are just way too much. And they're just like, it's more than you need. If you need more than just a decently strong cup of coffee, then sleep, nutrition outside of jiu-jitsu, there's so many other factors that are probably affecting that that you want to do. And I will say, last thing though is post-training is your body tends to be in a different metabolic state. So if you are going to eat your carbs, if you are going to have some of that stuff, then that's the best time. So in my experience, like taking if you really want to maximize the recovery aspect, having some sort of recovery, post-workout recovery drink, just like a 2-to-1 ratio of carbs to proteins. You can make it up yourself, like, whey protein and some juice or something like that, a simple acting carb. And then make sure you eat a good meal within 3 hours after that as well. Like, that's kind of the best way to maximize that post-training metabolic window for recovery and replacing those glycolytic stores. But yeah, overall, if you got a sound nutrition strategy, then that should be just an extension of what your jiu-jitsu nutrition strategy should be, an extension of your overall strategy. So it's cool, man. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I want to go train.
Yeah. I think we dropped some good knowledge here, man. So.
Yeah, we could have went into more. Our pre-show John Danaher shit took up a fucking hour.
It's all right, man. It was good.
It's all good.
It was good. I got leg walks and nutrition all in one podcast. So, and nutrition's one of those things, man. Like, we can definitely, we can have an episode on, some BJJ specific nutrition strategies, because there's definitely things you can do. There's things you need to keep in mind, because especially leading up to competitions and stuff like that. So. Yeah, we can always dig into more nutrition.
So the big lessons: eat good foods, don't eat too much.
Yeah, listen to your body. Yeah. Know what those primary food filters are. Don't get caught up in the minutia. And
don't get so attached to a name. Like don't get so attached to a tribe. Like, I'm keto, I'm paleo. That shit's there's a methodology and a psychology behind it. That's why they sell this shit. Like, it's just eat fucking good foods, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ramping ISOs, man. Like, that stuff doesn't. It's not sexy. It's not going to sell.
Yeah, we're not selling you a goddamn diet book here. Like,
the stuff that works, man. It's not sexy. It's not going to sell a book, but It's effective. So, well, cool, man. Well, I guess that's it. We're going to get packed up and go train. And next week, we've actually pre-recorded our episode. We're going to be talking about our predictions for 2018. And so, yeah.
That's it. I forgot what we talked about.
Did you? Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I totally forgot
I know, I saw you looking like, man, what did we talk about?
Is that what we talked about?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, no, just kind of fun. We sat down and just kind of talked about what we saw, kind of some trends, looking into the future, maybe the next year or two, where we see some things going in the fitness and jiu-jitsu world and stuff. So, I'll be interested to listen to it again because I kind of forgot some of my...
I did.
some of my stuff, so... But yeah, and then we'll be back after that for lucky episode number 13. Don't know what we'll be talking about then. But
I don't know. We might have to skip 13, just go right to 14.
I don't believe in that, man.
I don't know. I'm a little superstitious sometimes. I might not label it 13. I might just label it 14. I'm the producer, so I don't care what you say.
You are the producer. We can have 14A and 14B.
That's right.
I don't know if my OCD personality will allow you to
skip
a number, bro. 14 is 14 and 15 is 15. So
it's a subsystem within a big system, James.
That's right, man. That's right. So cool. Speaking of which, man, let's go to jiu-jitsu and work on our fucking systems, bro.
Fuck yeah. All right, man.
Okay, man. All right, well, once again, GrumpyGuyBJJ.com. You can find us on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you can find good podcasts, you can find us. Please leave a rating or a review. And remember, you can sign up for podcast updates and get our BJJ improvement kit. We've got a free workout, our side control basics workshop, top 10 BJJ mistakes. But go sign up for that, and we'll keep you posted on podcast stuff as well. So now that we've said all that, let's go train.
Fuck yeah.
All right. See you guys.